Well, all right then. How are you?
I'm annoyed at technology.
Old man rant coming in.
Not coming in. I just, I think you're aware that I had to do an update on something before we started this, and the software would not let me open it up in the previous version just to get through it and then do it afterwards and sort all the shit out. No, I have to fix it right now. You have to do that right now before you're doing something. And lo and behold, the second that I actually have to do something with that software, everything be fucked up.
You know what Led Zeppelin never had to deal with? Updates.
Yeah, but they did have to, like loose fingertips cutting tape.
So,
those grow back.
Yeah, that's right. That's okay.
Yeah. So, how are you? What's been going on?
Yeah, I had a good weekend. We threw a party for some of the people in the building and threw a mimosas brunch. It was lovely in the sun. And, yeah, just a lot of partying. It was crazy because it was like only from like 11 till 3 or 4. But it was so hot and a whole lot of lifting and carrying stuff in, to throw a party. And, by the end of it, I was just like wiped out. I was like, Jesus. Yeah. It's not like I did anything. I sat there and drank and talked to people. Yeah. And the Stones have just played here.
Yes, they did.
And
they did.
I was just thinking about that. Like, I didn't go, but I was, not too far away from it. And I'm sitting there at like 9:30, 10 o'clock on that night. And I'm like, there is no way I could have gone to this show. Like, I was so blown out. Welcome to Two Shots and a Royalty Check, brought to you by Venmo, Your Money, Your Move, and Liquid Death, Murder Your Thirst. Let's get back into it. And I'm like, and meanwhile, Mick fucking Jagger at 80 years old is going to go do 2.5 hours out in the rain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just kill it. I'm like, whatever drugs they're on, I would like some of those.
Oh, he's high on life. Have you seen the video of his warm-up routine that he does every single day?
Yeah. I've started to think, I think the key to it all is dancing.
Yeah.
It's Dick
you
Van
need
Dyke.
to loosen up your hips, buddy. Oh, my God. Just won his first daytime Emmy at 90-something years old?
Yeah, it's all those guys
Fantastic.
are like, they just get up and dance. I don't really do that.
Yeah, you need to. Maybe we need to. I don't know, like lambada or something like that.
So my cousins don't dance; they just pull up their pants and do the rock away. Lean back. Lean back.
Very nice. Solid drop. Solid drop.
Little Fat Joe, what's up? But it was. The heat is upon us, and not that we're going to talk about weather, although we already have. But yeah. But yeah, it's a hot one, and I always know when my boomer friends are like, hot enough for you? Then I'm like, okay, we're done here.
I went camping over the weekend.
Camping? Oh, that sounds lovely.
It was lovely. We went up to Lake McConaughey and got a nice parked on a ridge.
Why did you go that far? Why did you leave the state?
Because I wanted to, because I've never been there, and I wanted to paddleboard.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I've never been, so I figured, but yeah, hell, so let's go. And there's a spot up there where bands can play, and some friends of ours were playing up there. We didn't end up being able to stay for the show, but we met them to have a little adventure time. And it was perfect. It was like 90-something degrees with your feet in the water, floating around.
Yeah.
And then there was the world's worst murder storm that almost took out our tents. Like lightning, wind, and there was, all kinds of stuff like that, but everything was survived.
That is the thing these days, is that, growing up in Colorado, I camped a lot. And, we used to just, sort of, hey, we're going camping, Friday, just snap decision, throw shit in the car.
Yeah.
In a rear-wheel drive, 4-banger, clutch, Monza.
Toyota Corolla.
Yeah, and just let's go and find a place to camp, and we go camp and set up a fire and do the thing. And I never, ever worried about wildfires or being, washed away. Mm-hmm. There was I can't remember, the Roaring Forks flood or whatever that happened up there. But it wasn't a thing that happened all the time. And then every time I've gone camping in the last 5 or 10 years, It's like a thing. Like you got to worry about like, okay, there's a, like, you know, if you go camping and it rains, you're like, oh, sweet Jesus, this is beautiful. Because it'll go away really quick. But now you're like, oh God, what if everything is flowing away?
Yeah. You have to plan where you're camping just to make sure that, you know, like if everything goes to hell in a handbasket, can I get out of here?
Yeah.
With at least most of my ass skin intact. You know?
So the last time we went camping last year, and we went to, or whenever it was, I don't know. Don't hold me to that.
1996.
Yeah, whenever it was. COVID, you know, COVID got me. But we went to where the Hayman Fire was. Yeah. Because that used to be kind of our camping area near Deckers. And this is a beautiful area. If you're not in Colorado, you can Google it. It's just beautiful. It's not too far away. It's like 45 minutes. So you're not like you went on a road trip that ended in camping. Yeah. Like for me, I want to drive less than 2 hours, be set up, and camp. And so,
well, it was like 2 hours and 45 minutes. It wasn't that much further.
Well, you also speed. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I do violate land speed, you know, rules and regulations.
But so we ended up going to this spot that we usually go to that we couldn't go to for a while because that bitch burned down the mountain.
That's right.
Yeah, go ahead and Google Hayman Fire, you guys. But anyway, we went there because we thought, well, at least we can check off wildfire list on the list. Like that's not going to happen on a burned mountain. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of it was growing back already and all that, but at least that's not going to happen. Like, wildfires rarely happen where wildfires have already happened. There's just no more fuel. We're like, okay, that's sweet. Really? And then what we didn't realize is that we were near, you know, bears and bad things and then like
lions and tigers.
Yeah, and cattle runs out of nowhere, which like a cattle run of like 30 head of cattle sounds the same as you're about to go to war. You have no idea what it is. It's just rumbling in the ground and hoofs and stuff. Like they're not mewing, they're not meowing, mowing, whatever it is. What is it? Is it mooing? It's mooing.
Mooing, yeah. Okay. For the cows, yeah.
But they just sort of trample, and you're like, Jesus, what's coming?
Yeah, and it's like the ground makes the craziest noise.
Well, that's nice. Well, it seems like we both got a little sun, a little drinking in.
Yeah, oh man, parked up by the lake, drank those like tequila soda things.
Oh yeah,
and you know one thing about being, you know, relatively close to sea level is the box was empty, and I wasn't sure how that had happened because I didn't feel much.
Yeah. Well,
but it was a really fun time. Ooh,
so we do
love a good bubbly wine.
Proseccos in our house.
Yeah.
We don't. No more champagne.
You don't do the champagne?
No. No, not in this region. No, thank you. Less headaches, less stuff.
I was having brunch the other day with someone, and she said to me, "There's literally nothing in my diet I could, you know." I couldn't give up, you know, necessarily. But if they ever tell me that champagne has to go, I may have to.
Really?
That might be a problem. So she literally doesn't drink it very often just to make sure that she doesn't overdo it. You know, kind of like Jaeger in college.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'm not a big. I really started when I was drinking champagne. When I had the occasion to drink a lot of champagne, I ended up not liking the really expensive stuff. I ended up liking this bottle that was called Ballatore, which is not from the Champagne region, by the way. Yeah. But yeah, like you could down a whole bottle of that. But I don't know. Champagne's kind of like sugar water to me. Like you just get a little headache, and I don't care. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
I like the Prosecco. All right, well, cool. We had a good time. All right, let's get on to a little quick music news. I wanted to run over some things with you and see if we have any comments and or questions on them.
We have lots of comments and questions all the time.
Did you see the Kendrick Pop-Out show on Amazon?
I did not, because was that this past weekend or was that Juneteenth? Yeah. I was working Juneteenth the last bit.
And it was amazing. It was like bringing a lot of LA rappers together. Dre introduced it.
Fantastic.
He did Not Like Us, which is like the banger slam against Drake, like 5 times. in the thing.
Nice.
But the reason why it's important for our audience to know this is that Amazon Prime live music videos, broke all of the streaming records. And that tells you a lot of your young fans are on Amazon Prime and will go there for the right event.
Interesting.
Yeah, it broke tons of records on Twitch and on Amazon. And it was... it was one of the things that Drake said in the battle is that, like, people in your city don't even love you. And that was not true. Kendrick Lamar basically, dug the hole, put the dirt on it, stomped on it, pissed on it. Like, it was, put flowers on it and pissed on the flowers. I mean, it was brutal. It was brutally good, by the way. By the way, it was at the Kia Forum, and about half of the audience, not black. Half the audience, white, Hispanic. Which is nice to see at rap shows that are that big, like at a really big rap show like that. And so, it was that was pretty amazing to watch. I'm sure you saw the old Justin Timberlake DWI.
Yeah. What is the difference between a DWI and a DUI and a DWAI? Do we have anybody?
Well, I can tell you from experience. No.
Did he have a sprit? Did he have a? I mean, so my question is did he have 17 beers or a spritzer that sat wrong? So these are the questions inquiring minds like to know. Because I like Timberlake. I know like after Britney's book, there's a whole lot of, he was a bit of a cock when he was, I don't know, a fucking teenager like the rest of us, and maybe he's learned some things as an adult. I don't know.
I didn't take that much from the Britney thing.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were, so he's, having a year, shall we say. So I'm just curious.
Okay, so I can tell you the distinction. A DUI is actually the blood level. So it has to be proven. You get charged a DUI when there is a .0 whatever blow or they take your blood. A DWI is basically the DWAI is basically like driving the vehicle. So you could have a DUI, and DUIs are normally alcohol related, right? But DWIs sometimes can be cold syrup or cough syrup, or it could be weed, or it could be coke, or you could be on LSD or things like that. So DUI is under the influence, DWI is intoxicated. Yeah, so it's kind of the same thing, but there is a distinction. Partially, it's because he refused to do a blood test or a blow test, which is good. All you kids out there, always refuse to give cops any of your blood or your breath. He said he only had one martini at the hotel. As it turned out, they did talk to the hotel. He only had one martini.
Interesting.
Now, he was bloodshot and glassy, but it was midnight, and, Sag Harbor. He could have been out in the surf all day. There's a lot of things that could happen. He also could have been stoned out of his mind. He also could have been microdosing. A lot of shit. Who knows? But it's going to be a little damper on his little world tour there. And but he's fighting it. So there you go. So Justin is a little hot water. Kids, take a fucking Uber.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Take an Uber.
There was a gig I did last weekend that my parking spot was so good and I had to be there all day. Yeah. So I parked. I was like, doing the gig, and I was like, I don't want to lose that parking spot to load gear up. So I'm going to Uber back to my house and take a nap and then go back later on.
That's great. That's a great call.
But yeah, it's like anytime that, there's going to be shenanigans these days, it's just not fucking worth it.
It's just not worth it. It's the cost of like 2 or 3 beers.
Yeah. Well, at this point, depending on the venue, if you're at Red Rocks, it's
$10,000 and a whole lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
hard luck and trouble.
Because it's hard to prove a negative. It's hard to prove you were sober. It's hard to prove that you weren't just tired from Father's Day and everything else if you didn't walk the line right. Apparently, it was a young cop who's been pretty hardcore about traffic stuff in the town. So it's really hard to prove a negative once it's all over. I saw the video. I was like, I didn't look that erratic, but I don't know. I also am very fucking against drunk driving, as having lost a few friends. So
absolutely.
Take an Uber, whatever.
It's funny yesterday. So with stuff like that, that I saw a dude driving yesterday, and he was all over the fucking road, right? Like all over the place, like, and it was somebody, a new to him, older, SUV, big fucking thing. So if it careens into something, it's going to do some damage. And I watched a local police officer pull up right behind him, and of course, he immediately straightens up in that moment.
Yeah.
Cop gets annoyed that he's going under the speed limit, speeds around him, dude's fucking all over the road again.
Yeah.
It's like,
okay. That pisses me off. Here's another amazing news story. This is hot off the presses, as they say, even though there are no more longer presses or papers. The RIAA, on behalf of Sony, UMG, and Warner, those are what we call the majors, has filed 2 lawsuits against Udio and Suno, which are both AI companies that are creating all of this AI bullshit music. And they are filing those lawsuits. They're both in 2 different courts. One's in Massachusetts, one's in New York. And they are filing them for massive copyright infringement on a massive scale.
Ooh, interesting.
150,000, 120,000 per infraction.
Wow.
Is what those lawsuits usually start out at. 150,000 per work infringed. Now, that also normally means both sides. So there's also the recording and then the lyrics. And so, fuck them. And let's hope that maybe they get a little bit of movement out of this. And, this is at the same time as Warner signs a deal with Sound Labs to fake voices of their own artists. So in the words,
these fucking twits, my God.
So in the words of Sean Connery, they're playing both sides. But that
was terrible, Sean Connery. That sounded more like Quint from "They're playing both sides." Like a doll's eyes.
Did it get better? Didn't get better.
It did not get better.
So we're very hopeful about this. At least I don't know. From my point of view, it sucks. We had a conversation with a few people on different platforms this week about this, and they were asking, like, would you be more apt to follow an artist if they swore, whatever that means, if they swore not to use AI in their music creation and release that? And one thing, you guys can go look at the Rick Beato video. He had a video last week that was talking about his 2 young kids, Dylan and Jagger. His 2 young kids, basically. He was playing these AI songs to try to fool them. And they heard it every single time. They were like, "Dad, why are you listening to that bullshit AI music?"
Well, one of those kids has perfect pitch too, right?
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with how you hear audio.
And they've been raised in a household where
but the guy can't hear it. He's also older. I'm just saying, I'm the same way. I did a test and I picked 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I can tell them.
I can tell every single one of them. That doesn't mean they're not good or bad or whatever, but I can. There is a digital artifact in the vocal.
Oh yeah,
that I can. Yeah. I visualize it. I can hear it. Yeah, and so I think that what a lot of people over 30, they're fucking with this AI stuff. They're like, it's the future, and you're just a dinosaur, and get involved, get
you're
in line,
just a
man.
Dinosaur.
I think what they're missing is there are a lot of young people that, like, and I mean very young, like under 22, who hate it. They hear it, they feel it, and they hate it. It's not a matter of whether or not it's a good idea or a bad idea. They don't like it. So while all these kind of older people are like, it's the future, it's like, well, you're killing yourself then.
Yeah.
So... yeah, there's that. One of the other last big things I wanted to mention was the Queen catalog selling to Sony.
Big one.
Sony is notorious for not actually like solidifying that they've done this. So it's being reported that this is a done deal, but I'm not reporting that it's a done deal. It may not be completely finished, but it looks like it's happening. But the entire Queen catalog, including likeness rights...
Ooh,
which means they can do movies.
Yeah. So that means they own...
Yeah. And grand rights in the publishing, which means they can do plays and Broadway stuff, musicals.
Well, they've already done that, so that would make sense too, right?
For $1.27 billion. It is by far the largest catalog sale in history. And here's what's interesting, is that their catalog, both sides, recording and publishing, was only making, when I say only, but it was only making roughly around 40 million a year. Mm-hmm. And this is outside of when the movie was out. When the movie was out, holy shit, they were making like 100 a year. But making about 40-ish a year, 40 to 45, somewhere between 38 and 45, so I call it 40. Which means that the multiple on this is like 20 years to get that money, at least 20 years. And so, but the interesting thing is that one thing that was carved out of this was live music. So the remaining members and Adam Lambert can make all of their revenue on live touring. Now the royalties for the live performance royalties will go to Sony. But it's an interesting deal because it makes no fucking sense at all financially. It really doesn't. It doesn't
for
make
Sony,
any sense.
not for everybody else, you know.
And here's what's another interesting thing. This isn't Primary Wave. This isn't Hypnosis. It's not the hedgies. It's not the hedge fund VC people. It is Sony, right? And Sony is a label. They also have a publishing arm. And I did the math on this, on what 1.27 billion could do. And you could absolutely sign 500 artists with the hopes of maybe 10 of them or 100 of them making any money at all. And then out of those 100, maybe getting like 10 or 15 long-term 20-year careers out of it. But like, that's so, as much as we're celebrating it, and we do kind of celebrate it, I'm glad Queen's getting their money. But it also means that money could have been deployed to the future of music. And it will now be on the sidelines for a band that hasn't recorded a new song in decades. And that sucks.
I thought they had a new song come out about 2 years ago.
For a band that hasn't recorded a good song in decades. And it also means, fair. Now the good thing is for me, like Bohemian Rhapsody was a fever dream. That wasn't like an actual movie. You know, is kind of, it's weird. It's trippy. And they're
almost as trippy as Rocket Man.
And I think that there's going to be a push for a lot more sort of biopic stuff about Freddie. There's certainly one. I know that there's one in the works about Sir
Doctor.
Yes, Sir Doctor. And so I know that that's happening, but then also like sort of more of a retrospective thing. And that movie would then use the music and outtakes and all of that. So I don't know. They'll make some of the money back, but I don't see how you're gonna, God, they would have to make so much money per year to make this make any fucking sense at all.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe the wave of the future is like, it's kind of like Bill and Ted. Maybe their music is gonna, like solve all the world's problems or something like that.
What?
Just saying, bro.
Yeah. Okay.
God gave rock and roll to you. Was the song that saved humanity. One of the worst Kiss
song covers ever. Right?
I agree.
Slade? Was that a Slade song?
Was it a Slade song? I don't know.
Kelsey, look that up.
I didn't know she was in today.
Well, she barely.
Barely. It's by the British band Argent. And there you go.
Well, Argent was happy that Kiss covered it.
Yeah, probably made them some cheddar.
Yeah, but what a horrible song.
Yeah, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible song. By the way, speaking of Sir Dr. Brian May, this has nothing to do with him per se. Did you see Simon LeBon is now an MBE?
I did.
Yes.
He deserves it.
I'm a member of the Order of the British Empire for services to music and charity. You know who you never hear a fucking, story about, getting, finding him in a club doing blow.
Cheating on his wife.
Cheating on his wife.
DUIs.
Simon fucking LeBon. He is still kicking ass, taking names, living the best life possible, and sings like a god.
Yeah. He's still doing
I'm just
great.
Still doing great. Okay, thank you, Simon LeBon, for being a positive role model for twits like me.
Thank you, Simon LeBon.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's get to a little email and question or topic here. We have a question for you today. And so we can listen to your lovely voice more than my bullshit here.
Okay.
So it's basically, hey, these days, hey guys, how you doing? Love the podcast. How much do you pay side players? I don't know if that's what they're called now, but okay. How much do you pay side players? Do you pay them for rehearsals or just the show? And this is a person actually asking, there's a more specific thing here, but let's start with here. The specific thing is, how much do you pay somebody like a background singer, background vocalist, who may only do 5 of the songs of the set? Do you still pay him the same price for the whole gig? But so what's the going rate?
Oh, well, I think it depends on the event. It depends on the gig.
Is it a percentage?
For sure. Well, if it's an original performance and it's my band and it's the Stu Miller band and I'm hiring everybody to do the show.
Yeah.
I work other jobs and other things to be able to pay the musicians what I think they're worth.
Right.
But I have certain expectations of them to come in and do that. I don't expect them to manage any of the business piece. I just expect you to come in, wear what I'm telling you to wear, learn your parts, and perform the show. If we do a rehearsal, I do pay for that.
Okay.
And that doesn't matter what project that is. It just depends. The number depends on what project it is. Because if I'm going and playing at the Oriental Theater, and I know the take at the end of the night is going to be $2,500. I think everybody's time is worth $300 for the show, for the 90-minute show, plus $50 to $75 a rehearsal, or even $100 if I can do it. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm aiming for. But I've also done that theater with an 11-piece band, and that is not feasible.
No.
To be paying everybody that. But I don't pay based on how many songs you're doing. I pay based on time you're in the building. So even if that backup singer is only singing 5 songs, she's still there for the whole day. She had to be at sound check at 3. She's getting done at the end of the night and leaving at 11 o'clock. She's there for 8 hours. It's a full work day.
You got to stand the whole set too. Yeah.
So and even if you're, for me, it has nothing to do with performance. It has to do with time on site, and that comes from doing a lot of the corporate and wedding things. If my band has to be on site for 10 hours, but they don't have to play for 10 hours, it doesn't matter to me. You're still taking time away from other things you could be doing to make money to be on site with me, and so I pay for that. So I usually ask musicians what their day rate is, rather than asking them what their hourly rate is. So even as a producer, I do a per project rate rather than hourly, because if I would rather do it that way, because then if I work less, I get paid more. If I work more, I get paid less. It's then it all falls on me to be efficient and productive, right?
Yeah. I don't charge by the hour whenever I've done studio stuff. I do day rates.
Yeah.
I do $250 usually.
Typically, the way I work it, and I'm going to give away my matrix code here, is whatever I make on a gig, I tend to split that in half. Right. Because like a corporate gig, right? So I split it right down the middle, and 50% is for musicians, and the other 50% is for me and my company, and for my insurance expenses, and all of the things I have to pay no matter what throughout the year, whether there's a gig or not.
Right.
Those events cover all that, and they cover, insurance, on equipment. They cover, and I have it so that if anybody's equipment is on my stage, their equipment is covered under my insurance, whether they have it or not.
Yeah, musicians comp.
Yeah. So I also have to have a certain amount of liability insurance for my company. I have to pay all these things that the musicians on stage do not have to cover. I've got all the equipment, so that's why I do that. And so when I'm getting an event come to me, I split it in the middle. I put half over here, and then I bonus everybody at the end of the year. Yeah. But that allows me to pay for, and then what can happen is that allows me to hire them for original gigs and not drop their rate, because I put some money aside in my company on those events so that when I do original things, I can still cover it for them.
That makes sense. Yeah. And then also you got to take off, booking fee and all that stuff. Yeah,
booking fee and taxes and all that kind of stuff, because I'm, paying the full amount and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, it's just that's the way I run it. So if I got a $6,000 gig and I got 5 people on the band, I cut it in half. There's $3,000 for everybody, And I split that up amongst
including
everyone. But
you.
there is actually, I pay myself off of the profits of of my company.
Oh, okay.
So I don't pay myself off of the event. I pay myself off of what my company makes. So,
man, you got a double dip. What are you doing?
The other thing is at some point in time, I don't want to be doing as many of those, but I still want to have the thing. So I'm building up a cachet of things so I can do the things I want to do.
Yeah, I'd rather have that 300 to deploy to the horn players and shit. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I'd rather
anyway.
Also. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So it's there's other things I'm wanting to do with that money rather than it just be about me paying myself for that moment in time. So there's a forward plan from all that. But essentially, anybody who takes time out of other things they could be doing gets paid. If you come to a rehearsal, I pay you for the rehearsal.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if it's a smaller gig, like if I got a smaller gig, like say it's a bar gig and it pays $600 and I got a trio, I split that 3 ways. I don't do the same thing I would do on that, right?
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of times that's a sort of a cover thing, and you'll sort of like brush up a rehearsal.
Yeah,
because
it's
you'll have a
rehearsal.
few of those shows over the year, and it's like, we're adding this song or 2 songs here.
Yeah. Yeah, and once we've added it, and then you move on to the the next thing, and then you're ready, and everybody got to drink beer and have a good time, and we got to make stupid jokes on stage, and it's fun. Yeah, and you got paid to rehearse essentially.
Yeah, and you get beer.
That's how I think about it.
Yeah,
and there's beer
and chicks.
So anyway, I don't know if that
beer and wings.
I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. No, that's excellent. That is excellent. So yeah, that's the answer. Sometimes you kind of want to get into day rates. The people that do hourlies and union stuff is. That gets a little bit hairy because, load ins, load outs, and all that kind of crap.
Nobody's an employee either. Everybody's an independent contractor.
Exactly.
And I typically, especially in Colorado, it's so fucking cheap to start an LLC in Colorado.
Yeah.
I mean, so I would rather pay my company, pay your company to do this. Little bit extra protection for everybody.
Yeah, I'm not sending you a fucking 1099 for 3 gigs.
Well, we've talked about that when we talked about was it the musicians' living wage thing, where they're like, you can't have Taylor Swift's bank account. They're not going to pay you that amount of money. They're going to pay your business because it's Anyway,
that's the way it works.
That's the way it works. So. I know that I did some work in Tennessee, and it's a whole lot more expensive to start it there, and you have to pay more a year to have it. In Colorado, just look into your local, government. You can talk to your Secretary of State stuff, yeah, exactly, and see what it would cost you to do that, because then it just protects you and protects everybody else.
Yeah,
it just does.
It's just so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just so much easier. All right, great answers. Thank you very much. Thank you for the question. All right, let's get to the sink of the week.
The sink of the week.
All right. I'll bust mine out here.
Bust it. You bust it.
Bust it.
Bust it. Yeah, that's right in my head too.
So I am in love with this show, Dark Matter. On Apple
just
TV.
Just started it.
I'm not going to give away anything.
Please don't.
I'm not going to do what everyone thinks I'm going to do. But I'm not going to give away anything because it is just true to Apple. It's not what you think it is. It gets crazier even than what you think it is. And it's fucking great. It asks a lot of you. This is one of those shows, I know I say this a lot, where it asks a lot of you to watch it, to engage with it, and to think through it. But it pays the fuck off. This one does. It absolutely pays off. And so it's fantastic. Joel Edgerton, I believe.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Connelly.
Yes.
And the third dude, you've seen this guy in a bunch of stuff. I love this. He's a character actor. I don't know his name. We'll put it on somewhere, but we won't. Go watch the fucking show, okay? You'll love him. But anyway, season 1, episode 6, Dark Matter. They are at a hotel in a different quote-unquote place. And they're at a hotel. By the way, Chicago is having a moment. This whole show takes place in Chicago. And I love that The Bear is in Chicago. Shy is in Chicago. This is in Chicago. I love that Chicago is having a little come up. over the last few years. And this is another one of those. Anyway, they're in this club, and a song comes on, and everyone starts dancing to it. And it is Raspberry Beret by Prince.
Hell yes.
It is the actual master by Prince.
Very nice.
This is when the states getting involved in music licensing is kind of okay. I don't think Prince would have signed off on this personally.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's kind of a weird physics show, but But yeah, it's a dance club, and then they get up to dance. He doesn't want to dance anyway. But hearing that master full blown in the club is just fantastic. It's just a great drop. And it's age appropriate for who they are. So it's fantastic. So that is Dark Matter on Apple TV, Raspberry Beret by Prince. The music supervisor on this, Madam Jen Malone, yet again.
There you go.
So,
hell yes.
Super fantastic.
That's awesome. I love that Prince, being Prince, just was so mercurial about what he would allow his music to do. And I remember watching, one of my favorite, comfort food shows is New Girl, and the fact that they go to a party at Prince's house in New Girl, and there's a story about them, going on set, and he meets everybody, and he didn't differentiate between the characters and the actors. He referred to the actors as their character names, and he at one point just says, I would like to meet Nick now. And that, the guy who plays Nick is a guy named Jake, so it's
that's funny. Prince is so a method musician.
Yeah.
I don't know what your process is, but I'm going to stick with your character name.
There was the video I posted on Facebook of that sound check for Baby You're a Star.
Yeah.
Their sound check, and they did not have to go that hard.
No.
But they went that fucking hard.
Damn,
it was amazing. So good. So good.
I can't imagine mixing him. The whole time you're like, yeah, it's great.
God. Yeah.
He was like, you don't think the kick's a little too high? Whatever. It's great, man. It sounds fucking great.
It sounds fucking amazing. Oh, yeah. His band is something else, man. There was a story on, I don't remember who was telling it. It was one of his old music director keyboard guys was telling the story of a guitar tech who really shit the bed and knew he was going to get fired. So he handed Prince for the acoustic breakdown piece. He's like going out with his fingers in the air against Prince. Okay, you're not going to win, first off. So the tech brings him an acoustic guitar that is completely fucking out of tune, horribly out of tune. And so, if you're on a Prince level, if you've had stadium level techs, you get handed a guitar, and it is dime. It is perfect. It is on your specs. You hit that low E string a little harder, it's a little flat for you.
Yeah.
It runs yours. This guy fucked this guitar up, and so he hands it to Prince, and he does his thing. He goes, and he goes, and he starts talking about. He apparently shot lasers at this dude, and so basically start having a conversation and playing a little jam thing while he tunes each string to itself. Guitar wasn't in tune with the rest of the band, but it was an acoustic thing. Tunes it up, does his little Prince thing, makes it a show moment, and then launches into some ungodly, Prince acoustic jam where he plays I think Cream, and Sometimes It Snows in April, that kind of stuff, and just fucking crushes it. And then they murdered that guy and never found him. It's just I love those Prince stories, man. He was rest in peace.
Gone too
Mr.
soon.
Nelson.
Be careful with religion, kids. Get a blood transfusion. Go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Don't get on a plane.
So, my drop. I am obsessed with The Boys this season.
Yeah.
This new season of The Boys. The episode 4 just dropped late last week. I watched it a couple of days ago, and it was horrifying, disturbing, hilarious, and they're back, baby. It's so good. It is a really great season. The first 3 episodes take a little bit of getting up. It starts in kind of a darker place. There's no sneezes like season 3, shall we say. Like that first episode of season 3. It's just as gnarly as you think it is. But in season 4, episode 4, they have a drop of Face Down, Ass Up by 2 live crew. And there's two drops in this, and I picked this one for this week. There's another one that's played for comedy. This one is played in, the right spot. It's in the spot you want it in. And if you were a club kid in the 90s, early 2000s, you heard that song every night at the club. It was Two Live Crew, and that was Band in the USA, I believe, was the record.
Uncle Luke.
Yeah. Hell yeah. It was just like it took me back to the 1900s.
We've been doing this free speech thing for a while, kids.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that was the drop. I don't want to give anything away about this episode.
No.
It is so good. I mean, to the point, I skipped Gen V. I wanted it to be all out before, and I didn't know the new season of The Boys was coming so quick. So I actually started watch. It was so good. I'm like, all right, I'm okay with going back and watching Gen V now. And I watched the first couple episodes yesterday, and that whole universe, it is not for the children, unlike Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
So it is. It is such a great show. Do not watch it in front of anyone, period. That's the same soups as the last one that I dropped for the Smash Mouth, which was Michelle Johnson and Yvette Metoyer again, the co-soups on that. And I very much, it's so good this year.
If you love the TVMA, this be for you.
there is an ice skating scene in one of the episodes that is every fear I've ever had on ice skates played.
Oh yeah, that was an awesome scene.
Oh yeah.
I just love all the memes that are about it of like MAGA people going, wait a minute, has this been about us the whole time? I was like, yeah, dude, did you not know? Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah, it is very tongue-in-cheek.
All right, so there you go. There's the sinks of the week. Thank you very much. Very good. Let's wrap this sucker up, everybody. Hey, make sure to check out StuMillerMusic.com and remember to rate and subscribe. Give us 5 stars. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit all of the buttons. Leave us a hilarious comment over there on Two Shots Music Pod at Apple Podcasts. You can follow us wherever you follow people at Two Shots Music Pod. That's the number 2 Shots Music Pod. Email is the same, 2shotsmusicpod@gmail.com, and you can send us one of your fantastic questions, and we'll hopefully get to it eventually.
Yes, we will. I appreciate the one today. That's a question I know a lot of people are shy about the monies and stuff.
Yeah,
and
don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Ask questions. We appreciate
That's what we're here for. All right, until we see you next time, you all look great, and we hope you write a great song, and we love you. Goodbye.
Face down, ass up. That's the way we...
ass up.